Okay, so as promised, we're going to set up our Mueller-Hinton plate. And so remember that everybody should have received in their kit a little set of plates that had a little rubber band attached to it, in which one of those plates was our Mueller-Hinton plate that has this little dot attached to it. I wrote the MH on that. And then the other plate would have been a TSA plate, a spare plate, just in case you needed to do any other experiment. Now I have actually two Mueller-Hinton plates that I can play with right now. So I'm going to actually set them up both using two alternatives on how to set this up. Now, again, one of the things I was trying to say is always label them. So if you have your Sharpie and everything else, you can mark what, where, why, and when. But you're also going to want to mark the positions where you're going to want to place your particular filter discs. So I'm going to kind of draw just little dots over there really quick, right? Roughly evenly distributed for these guys. And if you want to write them by numbers or letters or something like that to help you out, and you write it somewhere else so you can actually give them their names, cool, no big deal. Right. So now what we're going to do next is seat it. So I'm going to do two different types of seatings on purpose. And so for those of you who remember, somewhere in your fridge, you should have had a little plate containing some sample, possibly your little vial, and you more than likely discarded your Lab 19 for this, but I still have mine. Obviously, I'm still using them. And so I'm going to use both. I'm actually going to use the actual plate for one of these, and I'm going to use the vial for the other one. All right, so I'm going to get one-on-one for these, and everybody should have, again, at least one inoculum or one possible swab. I happen to have two swabs right now, so I get to play with them for each of these. All right, so I'm going to show you how we're going to seed this one by one. So I'm going to move these up a little bit out of the screen, so you may not see them. I'm just going to have them here accessible. All right, so I'm going to go with the broth that we had that we sent it with some cooties. So I'm going to resuspend it a little bit by kind of just mixing it up and down, just so that whatever it might have settled, it's up, right? So take my swab. I'm just going to make a little bit of noise, but here we have our classic swab bad boy, right? And what you're going to want to do is dip it inside this guy and then create the lawn. So let me kind of move things out of the way so I can create the first one. My plate, right? And I'm going to do this a couple of times because, again, I want to make sure there's enough good stuff going around in there. So I'm popping up the little lid, right? I'm going to dip this guy in there, close this guy off. And again, fishtailing it multiple times to get a really good amount of stuff. And like I said before, you can rotate this and do it again. Rotate this and do it again. Right, remember to be gentle. That way you don't accidentally stab or poke this guy. Now, for good measure, I'm going to do it again. You can re-dip this guy in there one more time, right? Just for the sake of getting some good amount of stuff growing, right? And so really, I'm kind of painting the plate and all its surface. So I'm filling as many gaps as we can get over here. And so this is what we call seeding the actual plate. We're creating a little lawn of growth in there. So that was our version from the broth. I'll put this guy off to the side. Now I'm going to create the second plate, the one that I haven't inoculated here. And I'm going to use, if you happen to have a plate there ready. Right? So with that one, a new little swab. And so the same idea is I'm going to dip it in here just to pick up some material. Now you may need to kind of moisten this guy. So I did prepare a little cap so I can add a little bit of water over here. There's that bad boy. So I can moisten my little Q-tip over here and then pick up some stuff. We get up from there and the same idea again, right? Gonna pass it on as much as I can, rotate, pass it on as much as I can, rotate. And again, a few more times, the more thorough you become. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit more, just again, for good measure. And I'm going to find a good area that has some good stuff in there. And then again, I want to paint this bad boy around to create a nice, good lawn worth of good stuff. right? All right, that should be good enough. So now I've created two different lawns. They should be the same organism, right? But I created one from the broth, which is this one up here on my right, and one from the actual plate. Either one of those techniques works perfectly fine. Now, immediately after you've created your two plates, right? Or your one plate, I'm sorry, you're gonna then create your solutions. Now, the way I'm gonna do mine is just for the sake, because I don't have a lot of room, I'm gonna create my discs really fast. I actually brought a little bit of just a paper towel, just so I can create mine, right? And so in your envelope, again, you should have 3 of them. I'm gonna try and zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see this, but you can see there's 3 little discs side by side, okay? 3 little discs. Those are the ones we're gonna get to play with. So you may need to use like some scissors or something like that to cut these bad boys out, right? And then I actually have some little Clorox over here, nothing out of the ordinary. And then I also have some good old alcohol that I'm going to be throwing on these guys. And then I was trying to find something really, really fast to do so. And so I found some good old like antibacterial stuff over here too. So those are going to be my target 3. I'm going to try and open this bad boy up really quick. And so I'm going to use, little tweezers. These are the ones that most of us have at home, right? And again, these may be a little troublesome sometimes. And I do encourage you not to breathe. Now, again, we measure these multiple times. So sometimes you may have even extras, but we guarantee you to have 3. Okay, here's my little filter paper. My lab technician loves me, so she always gives me extras. If I can get these guys out. Like I said, they have a tendency of sticking, so you may have to fight for these a little bit. There we go. And because of even just the electrostatic plastic, which I'm trying to fight over here with it. Aha, there we go. Had some extras over here. So again, we want to moisten these guys. We don't want to soak them because if they're too wet, in this case, they'll just start floating around the plate. I'm going to take my one plate over here. And I'm going to prepare these solutions. So really quick, what I can do is take one of these. In this case, for example, I want to coat this guy with my good old, alcohol over here. So I'm going to do it a little bit off camera. That way it doesn't make a difference over here. But now I've officially applied some alcohol on this guy. And I'm going to apply it over there or my little dot. That's it. Bam, that guy's done. All right, I'm going to do the same thing for another one. But now I'm going to try and use bleach. So this is a good old, whatever bleach alternative this thing is using over here. Right, same thing, just a very, very quick little addition of bleach on this guy. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find my little place over here. If I can get this guy going, I'm actually going to use my other tweezer because I got it stuck too close to the actual tip of this guy. There we go. There's my second little disc, right? I'm actually going to wipe this guy off. Well, I'm even going to show you, just kind of make sure it's nice and clean again, right? And then I'm going to use a little bit of like the antibacterial solution that I have over here, right? So let me steal this guy. There's a little bit of gel over there. I'm going to try and soak this guy up. Get it on all the surface. So now I have my third one. I'll toss it over here. And bam, it's officially done. I have 3 little sets of them. And so here, I didn't label mine, but I know the orientation of mine. So make sure that either you put a little dot, a little number, a little label, and you should have these ready. So you can do the same thing with, if you did the broth version of it, and do the same thing. I'm gonna just reproduce this just for the sake of keeping things consistent. If I can steal that little rascal over here, it's being a little pain. And just soak them in some good stuff. Good old amount of hand sanitizer over there. Go. And then remember, everybody should have a little envelope with all 3 of these discs. And so I'm going to stop it here for the sake of it. I'll create some more later on. And you should have 2 sets of these. I have 2 sets of these. You only have 1 of them that you want to set up, let it sit for about 48 hours, and then we'll look for the zones of clearance. Now, to actually show you, I'm actually creating a time lapse for these guys to show you a little bit later. But I actually have large Mueller-Hinton plates to do so. And they look like this. Now, in case you can't quite tell the difference, I want you to see what a 100 millimeter plate looks like. So those are the ones you guys have, roughly. So that's about 4 inches or so. This is a 150 millimeter plate, right? So this is about 6 inches or so. And so you'll notice that I already have 6 discs over there set up. And so these are all antibiotic ones. And so what will happen is after 48 hours, it's going to look like something like this. All right. Let me remove the bottom one so I can have a better view. I'm just going to open it up for the sake of imagery. And so now you can see where the lawn is, the darker yellow everywhere. And then you can see each one of those 6 little filter papers that I've used before have different effects on the actual zone of clearance that it's causing over this particular organism. All right, so that's what you're setting up. That's what you're going to collect in about 48 hours.